Welcome to Administrator Training for Board Papers for SharePoint 2013. The training consists of 3 parts. Creating a site for a group that will be using the Board Papers app, for example, your board or audit or governance committee. Creating and publishing a meeting, including creating the agenda and uploading documents, and an overview of the Board Paper settings. If you do not need to create a site, or someone else will create the sites, you can skip right to creating a meeting. The settings section is also optional. Creating a site. A site needs to be created for each unique group of individuals that will be using board papers. Typically, there will be separate sites for the board and each board committee. That way, all the board members will receive the board meetings and board documents, but only the committee members will receive the meetings and documents for their committee. To create a new site, log into Board Papers and go to the home site. Click on the Site Contents link on the left side of the home page. On the Site Contents page, scroll down and click on New Subsite. Enter the name of the group in the title field, such as Board of Directors. You can skip the description. Enter a unique path name in the website field, for example, Board or BOD. While this is required, you will likely never have to refer to this URL. In the Template section, click on the Pervasant tab. You can always choose the last template, Board Papers, Meetings, and Portfolios. Portfolios let you deliver non-meeting materials, such as reference documents and organizational policies, to your group members. Select the Unique Permissions radio button to ensure that only specified group members receive the meetings and portfolios created for this group. You can leave Use Same Permissions selected if you want to publish meetings and documents to all Board Papers users. Select Yes for the remaining items. This will create links that will make it easy to return to the site in SharePoint. Click the Create button to create the site. This may take a moment or two. If you selected unique permissions for the site, you can grant users access on the next screen. 3 default user groups are created for a new site: visitors, members, and owners. Sometimes, use an existing group may be selected for visitors. In that case, select Create a New Group to create a new visitors group. Note, this is standard SharePoint functionality. If your organization has existing SharePoint groups that you want to use, or you want to further customize permissions, please feel free. For most organizations, the default permission groups work well. You can add your users to the permission groups now or after creating the site. You can add or remove users at any time. Typically, users such as your board members will be added to the visitors or members groups. The only difference is that visitors cannot vote in the Board Papers app and members can. If you don't plan to use the voting feature, all users can be visitors. If you want everyone to be able to vote, everyone will need to be added to the members group. Meeting organizers, such as the board secretary or board staff, will either be added to the members or owners groups. Members and owners can create meetings and agendas and upload documents. However, only owners can add or remove users or modify permissions. As the creator of a site, you are automatically added to the members and owners groups. Also, please note that all Board Papers users must be added to the home site permissions in SharePoint as well as any individual board or committee sites. If you grant permissions to a user for a board or committee site and do not grant that user permissions for the home site, the user will not receive any meetings or documents in the Board Papers app. This is a common error, especially when someone new joins the board or a committee. There are 2 ways to grant permissions to a user. Type the user's name in the large field under the permission group's name and hit Enter, or click on the person and checkmark icon under the box. SharePoint will check the entered name or names, and if found, will correctly format and underline the name. If the name is not found, a red curvy line will be placed under the incorrect name and an error message will appear. Any incorrect names will need to be corrected or removed. Alternatively, click on the book icon below the right corner of the field. Type the user's name in the Find field and hit Enter, or click on the spyglass. If found, select the user from the search results and then click the Add button. When done adding users, click OK. When done adding users to the group, click on the OK button at the bottom of the screen. The site will be created and you can now add meetings and portfolios for that group. To recap, create a site for each unique group of Board Papers users. Use the Board Papers Meetings and Portfolios template. Select unique permissions to ensure only board or committee members receive these meetings and documents. Make certain users have permissions for both the home site and any board and committee sites. Creating a meeting. To create a new meeting, log into Board Papers and go to the board or committee site for this meeting. A list of any previously created meetings will be displayed. Click on a meeting name to modify that meeting. Click on the New Item link directly under the Meetings heading to create a new meeting. Only the starred fields are required, starting with the meeting title. For example, August Board Meeting. Description is optional and only for your reference. You can skip that. Select the meeting date and start time. While an end time may not be required, if you do not enter an end time, the meeting length will default to an hour in the calendar view in the Board Papers iPad app. Short location is again only for your reference. The short location is displayed in the list of meetings for this site in SharePoint. All the large fields starting with full location and going down to be in attendance are optional. However, any information entered in these fields will be displayed on the cover of this meeting in the Board Papers app. This is your opportunity to provide any information about the meeting where, hopefully, the attendees can't miss it. You can also choose from a wide variety of cover styles provided with Board Papers. These covers can be easily customized by Pervasant or by your organization. For example, we can add your logo or custom colors to make the Board Papers app look like it was developed just for your organization. This can help with the initial adoption of Board Papers by creating a pride of ownership for your users. If you are interested in customizing the covers, please contact Pervasant. Typically, when you first create a meeting in SharePoint, you set the app visibility to unpublished. That will create a placeholder in the Board Papers app, letting attendees know that the meeting is coming up, but the documents are not yet available. If you are using an older version of the administrator's interface, this field may be labeled iPad Visibility. However, the selection will still be applied across all versions of the Board Papers app, including the iPad, Windows, and Android apps. Once you have created the meeting agenda and uploaded documents, you can change the app visibility to Published. In the Board Papers app, attendees will now see the cover you selected and can tap on the meeting to view the agenda and documents. More information regarding publishing a meeting is provided later in this training. If you do not want anyone to see the meeting in the Board Papers app, set the app visibility to Hidden. For example, you may not want people to know that you are working on a future meeting. More typically, this setting is used when a meeting has gotten old and there is no need for people to see the meeting in the app any longer. When you publish a meeting, the agenda and documents are downloaded to the meeting attendees' devices, such as their iPads or laptops. Attendees can review meeting materials in the Board Papers app even when they are offline. Meeting expiration determines how long any documents that were downloaded to meeting attendees' devices remain on those devices, and how long to retain any notes that individuals may have made in the app. For example, if you set the meeting expiration to 3 days, then 3 days after the meeting is held, any documents that were downloaded for the meeting will be removed from the attendee's iPad and any annotations they entered will be deleted. In addition to the presets, you can set the expiration for any number of days, for example, 180 or 365. If you set the expiration to None, the downloaded documents and annotations will be retained indefinitely. Even after the expiration date, users will be able to re-download individual documents from an expired meeting in the Board Papers app. For example, your directors can go back to a meeting that's 1, 2, or 3 years old and that has expired, and retrieve and review a document from that meeting. If a user re-downloads a document from an expired meeting, the document will automatically be removed again in 7 days, and any notes added to that document will be deleted. The PDF password field is used by a handful of organizations, and only applies if you intend to password protect your PDF files before uploading them to SharePoint, and you don't want meeting attendees to have to enter a password to open the files in the Board Papers app. For more information regarding this field, refer to the user guide. For now, we will set the meeting to unpublished, as the agenda has not been created and no documents have been uploaded. When you are done, click on the Save button to save the meeting. To recap, only starred fields are required. The fields from full location to be in attendance are displayed on the meeting cover in the Board Papers app. Meeting covers can be customized. The app visibility field controls when people can access the meeting in the app. Meeting expiration determines how long downloaded documents and any annotations for the meeting are retained on users' devices. Once a meeting is created, you can create the agenda and upload documents from the meeting page. Key details from the form used to create the meeting are listed at the top of the page. Typically, you will create your agenda first and then upload the meeting documents and associate each document with an agenda item. You can have any number of agenda items and any number of documents associated with an agenda item. All the features for adding agenda items and uploading files are provided as links at the bottom of the page. Starting from the left, click on Add Agenda Item to add a single item. Only starred items in the form are required. You can simply enter a subject, such as Welcome or Introductions or Old Business, and click Save to add an agenda item. Optional fields let you format the agenda exactly the way you need to for your meetings. The prefix field is typically used to number agenda items, particularly if you have a long agenda. However, some organizations enter a presenter's name or times, for example, 10 to 10:30, in the prefix field. The URL field lets you share online content with your meeting attendees. Perhaps you want your board members to watch an online video or review a new web page, or perhaps you want to link to an online document in OneDrive or SharePoint. Simply enter the full web address in the field, including the HTTP or HTTPS protocol. When meeting attendees tap on that agenda item in the Board Papers app, a browser window will open right in the app. This is just a nice option, rather than always delivering static documents and reports to your board and committee members. The level field lets you set up an online or topic-subtopic structure in your agenda. Valid entries are 0, 1, or 2. 0 means that this agenda item is a topic, so do not indent in the agenda. 1 means this is a subtopic of the agenda item above, so indent once in the agenda. 2 means this is a subtopic and indent twice in the agenda. If you want to ask the meeting attendees a question or have them vote on something related to this agenda item, simply click on the voting checkbox. You can enter a question and any number of answers. Voting can be used to approve resolutions or meeting minutes, but also can be used for any type of survey question. Some organizations use voting to take attendance. When done, click on Save to save the agenda item. It will be added under the agenda heading on the page. When members cast votes from the Board Papers app, the votes are cast directly to SharePoint, and you can see the vote tallies and who, how, and when individuals voted. We can cast a test vote by clicking on the Vote link and then looking at the results. You can continue to use Add Agenda Item to add additional items, or click on Agenda Datasheet to add multiple agenda items at one time. Using the Agenda Datasheet is the same as using Excel or any spreadsheet interface. Click in the first empty cell in the subject column to key in the next agenda item and press the Enter key. You can then continue to enter the agenda subjects. Level is automatically set to 0 for new items. You can edit the levels and add prefixes and URLs as needed. With the Agenda Datasheet, you can quickly create your agenda. As with any spreadsheet, you can copy and paste items in the Agenda Datasheet. This makes it easy to reuse an agenda from a previous meeting. Simply go to the Agenda Datasheet for that meeting, highlight the agenda items that you want to copy, and press Ctrl+C. Then go to your new meeting, open the Agenda Datasheet, click the first empty cell, and press Ctrl+V to paste the agenda items. Make any edits, and your agenda is done in a matter of minutes. You can use copy and paste in the same way to add agenda items from external sources, such as Word documents or Excel. When you are done using the Agenda Datasheet, click on Stop Editing this list to save your changes. click on the logo or the large blue SharePoint icon in the upper left to return to the main meeting screen. When you add a new agenda item, either using the form or datasheet, the new item is added to the end of the agenda. To move that item, or any other items, in the agenda, click Reorder Agenda Items. Change the position number to the left of the item to the correct order number. Please note, prefixes are simply labels for agenda items. If you have been using the prefix to number agenda items, you will likely need to correct the prefixes after reordering the agenda. You can do this using the agenda datasheet. To modify or delete a single agenda item, click on the item in the agenda list. The agenda form will appear. To delete the item, click on Delete Item in the top ribbon menu and click OK. Any documents associated with the agenda item will also be deleted from the meeting. Otherwise, edit any of the fields and click Save. This completes the features for adding and modifying agenda items. Just as you can use a form or datasheet to add agenda items, you have the same options for uploading documents. Nearly any type of file can be uploaded and viewed in the BoardPapers iPad app, including PDF files, Office documents, images, videos, and text files. However, only PDF files can be annotated in the BoardPapers app. If you want your board members to be able to add notes and mark up documents in the app, the files must be PDFs. Also, only PDF content can be searched in the app. We recommend that all documents be uploaded in the PDF format. Documents will need to be converted to PDF format before uploading, for example, using Save as PDF in Word. Please also note that Office documents cannot currently be viewed in the BoardPapers Windows or Android apps. Support for these files will be added in the future. To upload a single document, click Upload New Document. Click the Browse button to navigate to the file that you want to upload and click OK. Once the file uploads, select the agenda item to associate the document with. You can ignore document order for now. You can upload documents without associating them with agenda items. These documents will be listed in the agenda as unspecified. However, only documents that have been associated with agenda items will be delivered to meeting attendees. Unspecified documents will not be downloaded to the BoardPapers app. If you have 10 or 20 or more documents to upload, you don't want to upload them individually. To upload multiple documents at one time, click on Documents Datasheet. Just as with the Agenda datasheet, any previously uploaded documents will be listed in a table. Click on Stop Editing this list above the table. The table will become a list view and a plus new item or drag files here heading will be displayed in its place. You can now open a file explorer or any other file browser and drag and drop multiple files to the heading to upload. A rectangle will appear when you drag the files to the correct page location for uploading. When you upload multiple documents, the documents are not assigned to an agenda item. To associate the documents with agenda items, click on the Library tab in the top menu and then Quick Edit in the left of the ribbon menu. The table view will return. Click on the empty cells in the agenda column next to the newly uploaded documents and use the down arrow on the right to select the agenda item for each document. If you have multiple documents associated with an agenda item and you want meeting attendees to view the document in a specific order in the BoardPapers app, you can specify the order in the Document Order field. The document order only applies when there is more than one document associated with an agenda item and you want to use a different order than shown in the table. When you are done using the document datasheet, click on Stop Editing this list to save your changes. To return to the main meeting page, click on the Browse tab in the top menu to dismiss the ribbon menu and then click on the logo or the large SharePoint icon in the upper left. To modify or delete a document, click on the file name in the agenda. The Edit Document form will appear. To delete the item, click on Delete Item in the top ribbon menu and click OK. You can also rename the document. To view a document, click on the file type icon to the left of the file name in the agenda. Depending on your setup and file type, you may be prompted at the bottom of the screen to click Save and then Open to view the file. If you need to exclude certain meeting attendees from receiving a document, click on the padlock icon to the right of the file name to edit the document's permissions. This process is covered in detail in the BoardPapers user guide available from Pervasant. Document versioning. Board Papers takes advantage of the versioning features in SharePoint. If you upload a new version of a document that you previously uploaded, a new version is automatically created. Your meeting attendees will always receive the latest version of a document, but if they have added annotations to an older version of the document in the Board Papers app, you don't want them to lose their notes. In the app, meeting attendees will be able to view the latest version of a document as well as any previous versions they have annotated. For versioning to work as intended, do not delete a file before uploading a new version after a meeting has been published. Simply upload the new version. When you upload a file with the same name as a previously uploaded file, the associated agenda item for the new version will default to the same item as the previous version. This only applies to published meetings. If a meeting has not been published yet, feel free to delete previous versions of documents before uploading the new version. This completes the features for uploading and managing documents. To recap, use Upload New Document to upload a single document. Use the Document Datasheet to upload multiple documents. Also use the Document Datasheet to edit the associated fields for multiple documents. Click on a file name in the agenda to delete or modify that document. After a meeting is published, do not delete an old version of the document before uploading a new version. And finally, images, videos, and other file types can be viewed in the Board Papers app, but only PDF files can be annotated and searched. Publishing the meeting. Once you have created an agenda and uploaded documents, you can make the meeting and documents available in the Board Papers app. You can publish a meeting as soon as some documents are available. This will give meeting attendees as much time as possible to review the materials. Any subsequent changes that you make to the meeting, such as adding agenda items and uploading new documents, will automatically be published. When late or last-minute items come in, simply add them in SharePoint and they will be made available in the Board Papers app. To publish the meeting, click on the Edit Meeting Details link located on the left above the agenda and below the meeting details. The form that was used to create the meeting will be displayed. You can update any of the fields as needed, such as adding names to the To Be Present or Apologies fields. If you want certain individuals to review the meeting in the Board Papers app before it's published to all the meeting attendees, set the app visibility field to Preview. Only individuals with owner permissions will see the meeting in the app. Other attendees will not see the meeting. Otherwise, set the app visibility field to Published and click on the Save button at the bottom of the form to save any changes and publish the meeting. All meeting attendees will now be able to access the meeting agenda and documents in the app. Please note that new meetings are not visible in the Board Papers app until attendees refresh the app or the app is automatically refreshed. When you publish or make changes to the meeting, you may want to send a notice to the meeting attendees. For instance, sometimes meeting organizers will want to publish a meeting and review it in the Board Papers app before notifying other individuals. To send an email message to all individuals who have permissions for the meeting, click on the Email Meeting Attendees link located above the agenda and below the meeting details. A popover will appear with the email addresses of the attendees. Click on Open an Email Client at the bottom of the popover if you are using a local email client, such as Windows Mail or Outlook. Your email client will open in a new message with the email addresses inserted into the To field. You can remove any unnecessary addresses from the To field, enter the message, and send out the email. If you are using a web-based application, such as Gmail, you can simply copy the email addresses using Ctrl-C and paste them into the To field of the email message. Although the link is not shown on our training site, you can also send push notifications directly to iPad and iPhone app users. For security, users must log into the Board Papers app to retrieve and view push notifications. At least the first few times that you set up a meeting, you should review the meeting in the Board Papers app to ensure that everything was published exactly as expected. To recap, you can publish a meeting before all the documents are available to give the attendees the maximum time to read the materials. Once a meeting is published, any later changes to a meeting are automatically delivered to meeting attendees. Email messages and push notifications can be sent to meeting attendees. There are no automatic notifications. And finally, meeting organizers should review the meetings in the Board Papers app at least the first few times before they publish a meeting. Board Papers settings. If you are an administrator, there are several board paper settings that you can enable and customize. Click on the black setting gear in the upper right of the screen and select Site Settings in the popover. On the Site Settings page, click on the Board Paper Settings link, which is typically found at the bottom of the page. All settings are global and apply to all board papers users. The checkboxes at the top of the Board Paper Setting page let you enable or disable sharing features in the Board Papers app. If you want to ensure that the documents that are downloaded to meeting attendees' iPads and local devices are locked down and cannot be shared or printed by attendees, make certain these boxes are unchecked. If you want to allow your board members and meeting attendees to email or print documents downloaded by board papers, check the Outgoing Email or Printing checkboxes. Meeting attendees will be able to email or print the document, or a range of pages in the document from the Board Papers app with or without their annotations. If you want to allow your board members and meeting attendees to consolidate all their text annotations for a meeting into a single email message, check Enable Email Text Annotations. This can be a good option for organizations that want attendees to be able to share their notes but do not want attendees to email or print documents. Be aware that if you enable the email features, meeting attendees will be able to email documents or annotations to anyone, including non-meeting attendees. If you want to allow your board members and meeting attendees to open files downloaded by board papers in other applications, check Enable Other Apps. For example, an attendee will be able to open a Word document from the Board Papers app in the Word app on their iPad. Another example would be opening a PDF file from the Board Papers app in Adobe Acrobat on their Windows laptop. If attendees make edits to a Board Papers document in another application, the changes will not be reflected in the Board Papers app. The edited document will need to be re-uploaded to SharePoint to incorporate any changes in the document. If you want to allow annotations made by board members and meeting attendees in the iPad app to be backed up to iCloud or iTunes, check Enable Backup. By default, board paper annotations are not backed up from the iPad to iCloud. Enabling backups makes it easier to restore annotations if an individual replaces their iPad. Note: files downloaded by board papers to an iPad are never backed up to iCloud or iTunes. The app refresh interval setting determines how often the Board Papers app will automatically check for new meetings and documents from the server. This interval is entered in minutes and applied when an individual is not using the Board Papers app. For example, if the interval is set to 60 and it has been an hour or longer since a meeting attendee launched the Board Papers app, the app will automatically sync with the server when the attendee next launches the app. Any new materials will be downloaded. The interval is not applied while a meeting attendee is actively using the Board Papers app. However, attendees can check for new meetings and documents anytime by tapping or clicking on the Refresh button in the Board Papers app. The lockbox session interval setting is also entered in minutes and determines how often board members and meeting attendees will be required to enter their password when they return to the Board Papers app. For example, if the interval is set to 15 and an attendee leaves the Board Papers app to take care of some emails and then returns to the Board Papers app more than 15 minutes later, the app will require the attendee to re-enter their password to access the app. This is intended as a security feature when an attendee has logged into the Board Papers app but then leaves their device unattended. Another individual gaining access to the device will be unable to get into the Board Papers app without entering the attendee's password. Organizations need to balance security concerns and convenience for their Board Papers app users. If you set the interval to a small number, such as 5, your board members may complain that they are constantly being asked to re-enter their passwords when using the Board Papers app. Generally, 15 minutes is a good minimum setting. Note: in the Board Papers installation and setup, you can enable Touch ID support to allow app users to log into the Board Papers iPad app with their fingerprint, rather than typing in a password. This makes it easier for meeting attendees to return to the Board Papers app. When the lockbox interval is applied, attendees can simply tap their finger on the iPad's home button to log into the app. Contact Pervasant for more information about Touch ID support. The default meeting expiration setting determines the default number of days that will be entered when creating a Board Papers meeting. This setting is used to minimize the need to edit the meeting expiration field. For example, if your organization typically sets the meeting expiration to 120 days, enter 120 in this setting. Whenever meeting organizers create a new board papers meeting, the meeting expiration field will default to 120 days in the form. Note, you cannot set the default to none. To recap, you can use the board paper settings to lock down documents downloaded to meeting attendees' devices, or allow attendees to share documents and annotations with other individuals. If you enable the email features, documents or annotations can be emailed to anyone. You can allow documents that have been downloaded by board papers to be opened in other apps on the tablet or laptop. You can set how often the board papers app checks for new documents when meeting attendees launch the app. And finally, you can set how often meeting attendees have to re-enter their password when returning to the board papers app. This concludes the administrator training for board papers for SharePoint 2013. If you have additional questions, please contact your account executive or Pervasant support. You can also post questions to the Pervasant online support site, support.pervasant.com. You will need to register for the support site on your first visit. Simply click registration in the menu on the site login screen, or click the register link below the login button. Any number of individuals in an organization can register on the support site. Thank you for using board papers.